Hey y'all. Hey. I'm back with another information session. This time we're going to be talking about stress management. So everything that's included in stress management, what it looks like, coping skills, what actually stress actually does to the body, or the process of stress, and everything in between. So as we start each information session, I definitely tell you who I am, because I don't know when you review this or where you're viewing this. So I'm Corinne. I'm a mental health professional from 13 years now. I've worked with several different populations, and I'm currently in private practice and, helping people individually get their lives together, okay, and supporting them through that process. So with stress management, we have to kind of talk about, there's two different types of stress, because I think a lot of people just assume stress is like negative. It's not. Stress actually has two different forms. And the first one is positive stress, just to make it easier. It feels exciting. It helps motivate you. It focuses our energy. It improves our performance. It's short term. It's not something that's long lasting, and it also feels manageable and within our control. So positive stress is the stress that we need or can use. A lot of people may kind of say, I work good under pressure. That's the type of stress that you're feeling when you may be working under pressure in some cases. And it makes you improve your performance and really enjoy what it is that you're doing. Then there's the other stress, which everybody is down bad. It be fucking us up. And it be killing people. So negative stress feels unpleasant. It doesn't feel great. We all know what it feels like to be stressed out. Can decrease your motivation and efficiency in creating certain tasks because you feel overwhelmed. Decrease in performance. You're not going to get it done. Okay? Because you're overwhelmed. It's too many things coming at you, sensory overload, basically. It could be short-term or long-term, because, again, it depends on the situation. It could be something you really don't want to do or is really uncomfortable, and that could stress you out because you're like, oh my God, I can't do this. I want to do it. But again, it could be long-term or short-term. Negative stress tends to affect us more long-term, but it can be short-term. And it can be perceived out of our control, like it's something that we cannot do anything about or we feel powerless to. So those are the two different types of stress. Okay. Now we know that there's two different types. The good stress, perfectly fine. The bad stress can kill us. We don't want to die. Okay. So now we're going to go into the next part. Now, this is what basically the process of stress on our body, or the process we go through when we are having stress, whether good, bad, or indifferent. So the environment, it's the environment, right? So work, we'll use work as an example to get us through, to show you what stress looks like. So stress, we're at work. Work is the environment. Our boss hands us an extra assignment. That's the stressor. Now we look at the stressor and we're like, okay, now he done gave me some more work to do and I didn't finish the previous work. So let's weigh the pros and cons of this situation, shall we? So now you're in your mind doing this process of filtering the stress in which way it should go, or you perceive it to go. Now, there's 3 different levels of stress for this particular diagram that I'm going to talk about. So now that we've got the environment, which is work, the stressor is the extra work that your boss assigned you. You, the person, are now taking it into your system. And you're like, okay, is this positive? Can I get this done? Is it dangerous? Now I'm going to hurt myself. Is this work going to kill me? Literally. And then irrelevant. It's just kind of like, fuck it. It is what it is. Right? And that's what your brain is doing when you're taking in the stressor in the environment. Right? So we took this in. Now I'm just like, in my mind, I'm taking this work as dangerous, because I feel like you're trying to endanger my life. You see, I got a stack over here. Why would you add more work on top of what I already have, right? So I'm going to view it as dangerous. Now we're going to go to the second part. Now we're going to talk about the resources that we have to actually deal with this stressor. So what resources do I have? This is what you're thinking in your mind. What resources do I have to actually deal with what the fuck he just gave me? Okay. Now I have insufficient or I have sufficient. There is no in between in your brain. So your brain feels like we can handle this, so it's going to push you towards sufficient. So even though it may be dangerous to you, you might be like, you know what? But I feel like I can get it done. because I have XYZ time later on in the day where I can complete this task. Or if it's dangerous and then it's insufficient, now we getting into building the stress up. It's like, holy shit, I don't have time for this. I don't have everything I need to get this done. So your brain is losing it at this point, right? So now that we have decided that the extra work that this person or our boss is giving us is dangerous for one, we don't got the right amount of resources, now we start stressing out, right? We start panicking, anxiety comes in, I'm flustered, I can't concentrate, I can't breathe, I'm having a moment because I don't feel like I have what I need to actually complete this challenge, task, or threat. I don't have what I need to get rid of it. Now, here's how we cope, and we'll talk about coping a little bit later on. But coping and how we're going to overcome this, is it going to be problem-based or is it going to be emotional-based? Now, from what I just went through this process, and I told you I took it as a threat or a challenge that I didn't want. I don't feel like I have the resources. Now, somebody in that particular situation is going to cope emotionally, where you're going to act maybe irrationally or feelings based, or in your feelings. Now, I'm, like I said, flustered. I'm talking back. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Because again, that's how you're choosing to cope with the stress. Now, somebody on the other hand who is viewing this as a positive, like I like more work, I like the challenge, I feel like I have the resources, they may be more problem focused with their coping. They're like, okay, cool. Like I said, I got time later in the day. I'll just sit that over there until then, and I will work on it and complete it then. That's problem-based coping. Now, again, that speaks to that person's thought process. Now, in the coping for these two, feelings is like you're going to change how you feel to the situation, and then the problem is you're going to change the situation itself. Like, I'm going to do something about it versus just feeling about it, right? And then last but not least, the final part is the analyzation process, where we've gone through all this, we've decided what we want to do with the process, and we're just like, okay, what do we learn from this? It's an analyzation period that happens at the end of the stress process. And this is a situation that your brain grows through, a process that your brain goes through every time a stressor is introduced to you through your environment. So if you can imagine, if you have a stressful job, if you have multiple children, if you're in a marriage, if you live in a home with your family, you're getting these pretty frequently, rapidly in some cases, and your brain can't handle it, which is why we get stressed out, we get burnt out, and we get overwhelmed, and we start to cope in a negative way, right? So that is the process of stress, and that's how your brain basically functions and handles stress, good or bad. So again, it could be something positive. You're like, yes, I got everything I need. Okay, let's do it. And then negative, where it's like, I don't have nothing I need. This is fucked up. It's trying to kill me. I can't take it, right? So here are some of the warning signs where we have kind of hit our limit as far as stress is concerned, and we're personally not even going through that process anymore because it's so backed up, we can't even filter out all of the stressors to actually go through the process. So cognitive symptoms speaks to your brain and how your brain functions. You will have memory problems, trouble concentrating, poor judgment, being pessimistic, only seeing the negative, anxious, or being, racing thoughts. Your thoughts keep going and going and going, like I said, because you have so many things coming at you that you got to filter through. You're just like, constantly worrying about shit like that you can't control. Emotional, moodiness. Now you got mood swings, inability to kind of control your temper. You're very irritable. Agitation, you're easily agitated. You can't really relax. You feel overwhelmed, feeling lonely and isolated. And then depression and just general, just not feeling like happy. We have physical symptoms as well. So physical symptoms or how your body is going to react to stress. So this is extra aches and pains. So this is unexplainable stuff. Like you didn't injure yourself, your body just don't feel right. Diarrhea or constipation. A lot of people's nervous system, or a lot of our system that deals with our nerves and things like that, starts in our stomach. So your stomach is not going to feel right. Nausea, dizziness, chest pain, rapid heartbeat, loss of sex drive. A lot of people don't really understand this, but under extreme stress, your sexual drive and system cannot work properly. So if you find yourself being less interested in sex because you have a lot going on, that's a natural process. it's not your partner's fault. You just really can't, because your brain is too many things. Frequent colds, people who get sick frequently, because your immune system is compromised, so things are easier to get in there than if you were functioning or everything was moving properly. Behavioral symptoms, so this is the way that you act. Eating more or less, so overeating or undereating. Sleeping too much or too little. And isolating yourself from others. Procrastinating and neglecting things because you don't want to deal with the stress or the process. Using alcohol or drugs to relax or to slow down the process. And then you also have nervous habits, so you might be nail biting, pacing, shaking your leg, all those other things that you do to self-soothe, but again, it's not helping us get through the stress, right? It's a temporary band-aid. So this is the warning signs that stress about to kill you. I'm gonna be honest with you. Some people operate under these symptoms in all these different quadrants of yourself for years and then wonder why they've fallen apart. Stress is really, really, really hard on every system in your body, and that's why we have to manage it or get help to manage it so that it does not make us sick, chronically sick. Because once you do a certain amount of damage, it's really hard to get back from that. So now we're going to go into, again, I talked about those the 4 places where stress is going to inhibit. This is just more other things that I think I did not mention. A couple of them are, you might have skin irritation, fatigue, muscle twitches, frequent infections, like I said, keep getting sick, struggling to think, clouded thinking, impaired judgment. We talked about that. You might have nightmares as a result of it, and struggling to make decisions, accident prone. You might feel like you're falling around and clumsy a little bit more because your brain is doing too many things at one time and it can't process. And then you also have over here, loss of confidence, just more fussy, apathy, and just not having any depression, basically not having like any type of feeling towards anything because you're too overwhelmed. So you want to be careful for those things. So let's get into some coping skills. Now, these are the coping skills that don't nobody need to be doing, okay? We all have a set of coping skills, whether it's known to us or not. A lot of them are negative, okay? Because our families have negative coping skills, so we get a lot of what we know from them, mixed with media, mixed with friends, mixed with all these different things, and we just a big pot of shit we ain't got no business doing. So here are some of the things we don't need to do to cope with stress or anything else. It's just, let's take these off the list, take these off the table, okay? So procrastination, we need to stop doing that. I'm talking to myself. I need to stop doing that. Drugs and alcohol, you gotta stop. It's not helping you do anything. If anything, it's making the problem worse in 98% of cases, okay? Wasting time on unimportant tasks. So that's me scrolling on my phone. That's you scrolling on your phone. That's you doing everything but what you need to do. Blaming people. It's not nobody's fault. Sometimes, like I said, if we took the time to get the help or ask somebody, we might be able to get through some of this stuff a little bit faster so we can free up the process for more things. But when we just blame and try to put it on other people, that's not helping. Isolating or withdrawing. Again, ask for help. If you don't know, it's okay. You don't know. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I know a lot of people would fight me on that, but it's not. If you don't know, ask. Being mean or hostile. That's not going to get you the help you need, and it's not going to get you no further. Okay? Gossiping. Again, another unnecessary thing that it just doesn't help. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help the person. It doesn't help. Criticizing others, manipulating people to help you or to do what it is that you know you're supposed to be doing. Refusing to help other people because sometimes in your ability to help or reach your hand out, somebody can pull you up later. Sabotaging, self-sabotaging. Oh, child. Woo. That was a word, baby, because I was self-sabotaging in a minute. Being late to appointments. Okay? Provoking violence from others because, again, you're trying to distract. Enabling people to take advantage of you. Denying any problems. Being stubborn or inflexible. Having all or nothing thinking. Black and white thinking. Catastrophizing, if I could talk. Where you're just making the worst of everything. And it's not necessary. Overgeneralizing. It's not that big of a deal. It happens all the time. No, it doesn't. We got to take accountability. Throwing tantrums, you're a grown person. Or if you're a child, I have to teach you to do better. Throwing things at people, again, violence doesn't get anybody anywhere. Okay, it does. It might. But not in this particular situation. Yelling at people, destroying property, reckless driving, suicide absolutely is not going to help you. Self-harm, another thing, it's not going to help us. Developing illnesses, certain things do cause us to think a certain way, and we have to receive help. So please ask for help. Making fun of yourself, self-sabotaging, we talked about that, blaming yourself, gambling, eating too much, and those types of things. Those are negative coping skills. We need to stay away from them. Oftentimes, stress compound with negative coping skills can make the stress worse. Where you're like, oh, this is helping me calm down. It's not. It's actually adding to the stress level that you already have. And we want to make it better, not worse, okay? So let's leave these coping skills in the past, all right? And let's get on the good foot and get some new ones. So the positive coping skills, I know a lot of the girls be like, well, that shit don't work. Okay, on this list, I'm not going to read everything that's on this list, but on the list that I have here, there's like 9,000 million trillion things that you can try for different things. So if journaling is not your thing, then pick something else. You're not like having to stay stuck with journaling if that doesn't work for you. Find something else. So the positive coping skills I have, they're set into these different types of categories. So the first one is talking. You can talk to a family member. You can talk to a friend. You can contact a mental health professional. Writing, like I said, journaling. You can write a song. You can write a letter to a friend. You can write a story, poetry. Whatever your get down is, go ahead and do it. It's going to work. I promise. You just got to get in the habit. Exercise, you can go for a walk, you can go for a run, you can go to the gym, you could do yoga, lift weights, punching bag, whatever your get down is at the gym, go do it, okay? Because then it frees up space for you to actually continue to go through the stress process, so you can start filtering things out, so you can empty the backlog and then get ready for whatever comes your way. Express artistic expression, so these things are creative things you can do. Sing, dance, draw, paint, sculpt, take pictures, go on a nature walk, do what you feel, be creative. Relaxation, so this comes from mindfulness, if you will. Deep breathing, try a meditation app, watch TV, listen to music, laying in the sun, counting backwards from 10, take a shower, get a stress ball, or reading inspirational quotes or something inspirational. Last but not least, these are other things that you could do that didn't really fall into any of these other categories. If you have pets are really, really good to help with stress management and to help us cope with things. Play a board game with friends. Go play a video game, cooking, cleaning, or yelling into the abyss, which I definitely love. It's a vibe. Get into it if you have a chance. To release that energy so that you can, again, free up your body to do these other processes. So those are some positive coping skills that I want us all to try out. Okay? Last but not least, here's how we're going to deal with the stress. Like, we figured out what the process is. We know what stress is. We know what it looks like when it's down bad. Here's how we can deal with it to make it more manageable on our own. And if these things don't work, definitely get with a professional so we can come up with a more in-depth plan or a more advanced plan for you to help you get you through this tough time that you may be having. So at home, you want to express yourself, take action, get organized, and create your own space. To deal with stress at home, express whatever you got to express in a, healthy way. Don't, fight nobody, but say what you need to say. Don't hold it in. Take action. If you notice something's not happening around the house, just do it. I know everybody's like, well, if I do it, just do it. Okay. Get organized. A lot of people live in clutter and dysfunction and then wonder why their brain can't process. Like, you have to have a livable space. So getting organized, maybe you take the time to get organized so then you can organize your thoughts. Create your own space. So if you don't have your own space in your home, if you're living with somebody and you're kind of in between situations, try to make your space the best that you can. Make it your own. Add some of your own accents so that you feel comfortable there. At work, again, how do we manage stress at work? We have to understand the expectations that are set before us. So if there is an expectation for us at work and we don't understand it, then it's for us to ask the supervisor, hey, this doesn't make sense to me. Can you explain it? So we can, again, avoid stress. The next one at work is avoiding multitasking. Just do one thing at a time. I know in today's days and times, they have us doing so many different things, but Spirit is encouraging you guys, as well as me as the professional, encourage you, just do one thing at a time. You can't answer emails, answer phone calls, and help a customer. One of the things has to be done at a time, and then we can move on. Minimize conflict. I would say conflict resolution is one of the things I will come back and do. But again, is this worth it? Choose your battles wisely. Not everything is a fight, or not everything deserves to be fought over. Sometimes you will have to compromise on certain things, and there's other times where, again, you have to choose your battle. Was this worth it? No, probably not. Then I'm going to let you have it for now. And then get comfortable. Again, making your space your own. Because if you're in a space that you don't feel comfortable in, how can you properly deal with stress if you feel like everything's a threat, right? And then in relationships, remove external stressors. Again, for the girls, it was just Valentine's Day yesterday. Shout out to y'all who had your situation situating. Remove external stressors. If you and your partner are going through something, then it's not the time for us to jump on social media. It's not the time for us to distract ourselves with other things. Like, hey now, let's come together and have a conversation. Maybe a date night. What's the problem? What are we doing? What's the problem? Get to the root of the problem. Save time for yourself. You don't need to do everything with your partner, I promise you. Sometimes you just got to leave them alone. Vice versa. Go sit down somewhere, work on you, let them work on them. That's it for that. Improve your communication skills. So again, if you're having problems with communicating with your partner, maybe your communication style and their communication style does not match, then that means you may need help of a professional to help either get it so where you can understand their communication style, or you can better communicate in a way that you do so that they can understand it, right? So in the long term, to help manage stress, you want to move around. Movement is really important. Exercise is important. You can't be sedentary and think that the shit's gonna move. You have to move it. Eat well. So eat a balanced diet. I'm not saying go too far as veganism or go too far as eating all junk, but eat a balanced diet. Practice mindfulness. So taking that time to be quiet and sit in things and try to work through these processes. And practice relaxation techniques, which I gave you in the previous little bit of information. In the short term, these are things you can do immediately. Take a walk. I was very, very, baby, if people get on my nerves at work, I will go take a walk. Okay? In a minute. Take a walk. Practice deep breathing. Use aromatherapy. That was one thing I used at my last position where I worked at a company. I would have a diffuser going with peppermint to cool the situation, to bring in a very chill type atmosphere. And also get a hug. Hug somebody. I know sometimes my son is really huggy. He loves hugs. So if he's really going through something, he wants a hug, I'll give him a hug. If I'm going through something, I will hug him. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just need a hug. Hug people. So those are the ways that you can deal with stress. And I hope that this video finds you well, and I hope that it helps. If you're interested in services, you can click the link in the description. I do have a few open. Once these go, I will not be opening back up until April. So whatever is there. So I would say get on there if you could get on there. Okay. I do all first hour sessions and monthly, and I also have a yearly package. So if you want to invest in yourself for the year, go ahead and do that, beloved, because I'm here for you. And you would receive a vent session a week for 52 weeks. So with that being said, I will see you guys on the next one, and I hope you have an amazing day.